Hey everybody, what's going on? Your host, LovelyCheesePizza here, eating some Wildberry Skittles, and welcome back to Let's Play some more Gran Turismo 3, the ultimate driving simulator. I also, I need to show this. My wife wasn't going to finish it, and so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let some good wine go to waste. I'm drinking some white wine out of this fucking awesome, there's some glare on it, but it's the Nightmare Before Christmas wine bottle. It's like a collector's edition thing. It's so fucking cool. I love it. So, Oh. Not a good idea to do white wine and Skittles at the same time. We're not going to do that again. Try to space those out in a more appropriate manner next time. But, anywho, what we're doing right now is we took over the last race pretty damn handily. It was very easy. Tremendously easy. If Donald Trump were in the car, we probably would have thrown out a couple of very off-color remarks at the same time. And now we're going to run the gauntlet of Rome Circuit. You guys already know what my very widespread scale vitriol-laced manner is for this. I hate this race. Not as much as I hate Deep Forest. And the funny thing is my innate hatred for Deep Forest is actually like lessening a little bit. We've been able to have enough, like, you know, fairly successful races on that course now to where I don't really hate it as much anymore. I still do. Like, there's still enough hatred there that I could probably fuel a city block for a while, but it's getting a little bit less bad. This one, however, can go fuck itself for a very long time. There's so many turns that, like, I still haven't really solve the Hellraiser puzzle yet on how to deal with them properly, and so it's going to continue being a pain in my ass for a little bit, but it's all good. We're still going to win ultimately because at least one or more of the cars that are directly behind me right now will end up hitting the pit stop, and then we'll, you know, take this thing over by a long shot, and it's going to be good, which will make things a little easier on me because I've got something that I just have to kind of, like, get out right now because it's been, like, weighing on me for a while, and especially more so today because I had to deal with it firsthand all day. But I will tell you, and anybody who's had a family member go through this kind of knows exactly what this feels like. But so I've been keeping you guys in the loop, kind of, sort of, on the condition of my last remaining grandma at this point. She's 93 years old, and I told you guys over a year ago that, like, you know, she went into the hospital. You know, they diagnosed her with basically really advanced heart failure or heart disease, and like congestive heart failure and a whole slew of other things. And you know, they basically gave her a couple months to live. Obviously, and she's been in hospice, like in-home hospice care ever since. And you know, they basically gave her a couple months. But she's been just a fucking crazy trooper, and she's been, you know, plowing along for over a year now. It's been what, 15 months now, like a year and a quarter. And she's just been plowing along. I mean, you know, there's been times where we've totally thought she was gonna kick the bucket, and then she all of a sudden just snaps out of it. But over the last couple of weeks, I would say, the only way that I could basically state it in layman's terms is my grandma is going fucking insane. Like, she's basically more or less been, like, developing, you know, signs of dementia or, you know, really bad Alzheimer's. Like, she's at a point now where it went from her being, you know, pretty normal, you know, relatively, I think, all things considered. It went from her being pretty normal to literally being just absolutely out of her mind, batshit crazy. I mean, she's, you know, she used to be a very mild-mannered woman, you know, pretty soft-spoken, you know, just a very fun-loving woman. To be frank, and it's really hard for me to say it, I have no idea who that woman is that's living in my house. Like, it's just, she's not even remotely the same person anymore, and it just shatters my soul, and just watching her exist, more or less. Like, it's tragic to watch. It's just, ugh. I don't even, like, she doesn't recognize people. She doesn't know where she is half the time. Like, today, even, she was saying, you know, she was in her room just putting stuff on the bed, like, packing things up, and it's like, hey, Grandma, where are you going? She's like, well, I'm getting packed. I'm like, well, where are you going? She's like, well, I'm gonna move back up to Salem, which we already live in Salem. I was like, Grandma, we already live in Salem. Where do you think you're moving from? She's like, well, I'm down in Stockton right now, Stockton, California. It's like, Grandma, you haven't lived in Stockton, California in 70 years. It's like, you've been here a pretty long time. You don't live in Stockton. She's like, but I gotta move back up to Salem so I can be with Marla, Jim, and the kids, and i.e. my mom, my dad, and my brother and myself. It's like, but you're already here. I mean, you've been here this whole time. You've been living in the same house for the last 15 years, you know. And it's like, it's mild stuff like that, but it's also just like things of, she blatantly has no idea what's going on. Like, she was wanting Michaela to take her to the bank today, which she's not even allowed to leave the house for any reason. She's basically tried to escape the house like 7 or 8 times in the last like week and a half. I mean, she's just like cooking up all these crazy scenarios in her head. She was rifling through the yellow pages today for 4 hours. I'm not even kidding. For 4 hours, looking for the phone number for somebody to come and check out the house to make sure there's no smoke in it. And it's like, Grandma, there's no smoke in here. Well, but I'd feel a lot better if somebody came in and checked it out just to make sure. It would make me feel better. But she didn't even tell anybody that until after she had been looking in there for 4 hours. Like, I was in there helping her for a little while, and she couldn't remember what she was even looking for like 95% of the time. She was basically just looking through the R's. Are you going to the mall? That's what I'm asking. No, Billy, not going to the mall. Keep spelling, mister. But, yeah, and like there was a night a little while back where she just randomly walked into the kitchen and she started cooking stuff, which she's not supposed to be doing. I mean, when you're developing signs of dementia and you're 93 years old and you're super frail on your feet anyways, and you're basically out to fucking lunch in the brain, I think the last thing you should be doing is A, using a stove, and B, using a huge-ass carving knife to chop up zucchini. And so Michaela was in there and she was telling her, hey, you should probably not be doing that. Like, that's not a very good idea. You shouldn't, I can totally help you with that, but I don't think that you should be using a knife that big by yourself and, cooking things without any help. And my grandma straight up called her a mean bitch, which is insane. Like, I know that sounds relatively tame in the scope of swear words these days, but my grandma hasn't said a curse word in probably like 50 years. And so for her to uncork, for no reason, calling my wife a mean bitch, it's like, whoa! that is flagrant and out of bounds. And it's like, but we're trying to keep her from starting a fire, and oh man, I mean, she was like cooking all this stuff on a high. She was in her bathroom, a few days before that, and she like filled up this little tub in her bathroom that she does like foot soaks with, and she was taking like a glass cup, and she had filled it up with water, and then she was taking the glass cup and she was dipping it in the water and like pouring it just on herself. And my brother went in there and he's like, Grandma, what are you doing? She's like, well, I'm making poison oak so I can put it on myself. And he's like, wait, what? You're making poison oak to put on yourself? Well, how does that even work? It's like stuff like that. Like, it's just cooking up all these random things that make absolutely no sense. And like, she doesn't know where she is half the time. She doesn't recognize really anybody. Like, sometimes she'll have these weird lucid moments where she does. Like, she just like 2 days ago, I walked into her room, seeing what she was doing, and she asked me how my interview went at the car dealership. So it's like she does recognize things, and then all of a sudden, like 5 or 10 minutes later, she is done for. Like, she just doesn't know anything of what's going on again. And it's just, it's crazy, man. And the part that makes me the most upset about it is that, like, knowing that she's not in her right mind is one thing, but knowing that had she been in her right mind still, like, this would be the most excruciating and torturing thing for her. Like, she has always said, like, I never want to lose my mind. I want to be able to go out on my own terms of, being of my own free will, basically. And so for her to have been that way, and then now she's at a point where her brain is just, like, deteriorating rapidly at a pace that's pretty not good. And the fact that, our only option that we're looking at now is putting her in a memory care facility, which is literally the last thing that she wanted. She was so wildly adamant about not being put in a home or like a facility of any kind. Like, she wanted to go in her own house, but it's like, it's her antics are at a point right now where, like, we can't take care of her anymore. Like, she's too much to handle. Because we're afraid that she's going to try to escape the house in the middle of the night when we're all sleeping and nobody's going to be able to hear it. Like, we've had to barricade the front door on a couple of different occasions because we're afraid that she's going to try and leave in the middle of the night. So, and like, literally as I was coming in here, everybody was asleep and I had to run to Walmart real quick. And I came back home and she was just standing in the middle of the hallway, just for no reason at all. And it was fucking scary. And so I grabbed my dad and he's like, what's going on? And, she was trying to, weasel her way around that there was a snag in her oxygen line, which she totally severed earlier today, by the way. She took a pair of scissors and literally just cut the line. Thank God we had a spare one, because like her oxygen machine is basically what keeps her from having like these crazy TIAs, like these little mini strokes, basically, where a lot of this stuff kind of spurs and gets started. So luckily we had a backup one, but oh god. And so he's going in there, and all of a sudden my dad comes walking out with this box that has her handgun in it, and we're just like, she still has that in there? Like, God, it's the last thing that she needs to have in her room in the condition that she's in. You don't need her, hauling off and going and popping somebody right square in the breadbasket with that. That's fucking crazy. But like, the worst part is that in order for her to get committed into a facility like that, you have to get a doctor to come out to the house, and they have to do, like an assessment to deem that that's necessary. And it's like, oh my god, it's killing everybody. And like, worst of all, it's getting my mom the worst, because for whatever reason my grandma is like super aggressive towards my mom, and none of us can figure out why. Like, my mom is super like generous and calm with her, even though she has to be direct sometimes, and my grandma just gets fucking pissed at her, like, and it's for no reason. There's no reason behind any of it. She's just like, my mom will tell her that she's going to work, like, hey mom, I'm going to work, so I'll see you home in a little while. And my grandma's just like, yeah, whatever. And like, just tonight, my mom was trying to give her pills, because her pills are laid out in 4 different waves. And, there's certain times of the night she's got to take them all to keep her blood pressure from going off the damn charts, and to, just to keep her going. And my grandma wouldn't take them. And it's mainly because my mom was trying to get her to take them. Like, she's just like, I don't want to take them. You can't make me do it. She's like, you can sit here all night trying to get me to do that. I'm not going to do it. But earlier in the day, I was able to get her to take them no problem. Like, I don't know what it is about me, but so far, out of everybody in the house, like my mom, my dad, my brother, Michaela, and even some of the people that come to visit on a fairly regular basis, the only person that she hasn't snapped at yet for any reason is me. And I have no idea why. I don't know why that is. I'm happy about it, but it's just like, she takes everything out of my mom. Like, they've gotten in virtually almost in shouting matches at each other in here. It's just, it's crazy talk. And so anybody anybody who's ever had family members that have been going through, you know, Alzheimer's or dementia, where they're in their right mind and then they're just they just deteriorate so quickly that they're not in their right mind anymore. I feel for you. It's just it's sad, man. It really is. It is. I think it's one of the worst ways to go, because, I mean, you just, and the part that's the most frustrating is that I have to imagine that when you're in your right mind and you can feel yourself slowly losing it, because my grandma's recognized that a couple times too. Like, she's had times where she was totally out of her damn mind, where, you know, she was yelling at my brother and she was yelling at my wife, and just all sorts of stuff. Like, she was just fighting with everybody, because, you know, she's saying that we all think that she's crazy and just fucking out of her mind. And, you know, obviously we do think that, because we know that, like, she's totally lost it, but we're trying to convince her that it's not that way. And she's just, you know, going nuts on everybody. And then all of a sudden the next day, she's like totally lucid again, and she remembers everybody's name and all this stuff. But you try to talk to her about the situation and she doesn't remember any of it. So it's like the lucidity is there, but it's not. And, like, I could just imagine how frustrating that has to be, like, still being semi-lucid, but you can totally tell, like, somewhere in the back of your mind that you're losing it, and that, you know, you don't remember things the right way anymore, and that just everything's coming apart. And for somebody that, like, that's the last thing that you want, because you're a really independent person and you're so used to being able to handle things on your own, to not being able to do any of that is just, that would tear me apart inside. So that's been how it's been, though. Like, we're basically at a point where we've got to get her into a facility, because nobody can handle it anymore. Like, she needs to be in 24-hour, round-the-clock care by people whose job that is, where they can, you know, have her under a microscope all the time. So, oh boy, it is not good. Not good at all. Like, I'm totally paranoid that I'm gonna go back into the house after this is all done, and she's just gonna be standing in the hallway again. Even though we've kind of put her back to bed, gave her all this stuff, I'm totally paranoid she's just gonna be sitting there, just right in the hallway. And the only person that's gonna be able to do anything about it is gonna be me, because everybody else is asleep. It's just, not good at all. So, that was my spiel. I needed to get that off. It's like it's been building up in my system all day. Like, she tried to make a break for it today, and I'm sitting there holding Harrison, and also taking care of my daughter at the same time, who was getting ready to take a shower, and she's like the one who's been helping me take care of Harrison. My grandma's just booking it for the door, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, what am I gonna do? I can't just go, like, throw Harrison in another room because he's a baby. Like, he needs to be with me, and I can't just go throw him in his swing right now because she's making a break for the door. She's doing something else. I'm on the phone at the same time, and I'm just like, oh my god! Because, you know, she goes out that front door, she's just asking to just fall face first in the ground and die. Like, that's... And, like, that would be on my hands, and I would have... Oh, my god. So, it's just... Eek. So with that said, my friends, that was my crazy rant about how my grandma's losing her mind, and it's driving everybody in the house crazy in a very emotionally charged way. So, when we come back, on the next episode of Let's Play Gran Turismo 3, the Ultimate Driving Simulator, we will have the final race in the Lotus Challenge, I think it was. And we'll gain our prize for that, which will be pretty awesome. And then we'll move on to the next thing. And so with that, I say... Thank you guys for watching. You guys take care. I hope that my rant wasn't just like, this guy's going crazy himself. He's going to need his own padded room soon enough. So you guys take it easy, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.